Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the channel. It is 5:21 a.m. East Coast, Monday, July 21st. No, it's not. It is July 1st. What am I saying? Getting 3 weeks ahead of yourself. But yesterday was a good day. Yesterday was my birthday. Had an exciting and fun day. Spent the day all day with the girlfriend doing a bunch of different things. So apologize if I didn't get back to any tweets or anything like that. I'm sure I got back to most of them by the end of the day, but if not, I apologize for that. Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sal Vetri, and I cover daily fantasy sports in the NFL, NBA, the MLB right now, like you're seeing WNBA, which there's no games tonight, and then golf to an extent. Hopefully going to be getting back into that today with no WNBA today. Might be able to do an early look at the golf slate. But yeah, I'm excited to break down this 5-game slate. And actually, you know what? Am I excited? I have no idea, because this is the worst slate. Yes, this is the worst slate of the year in terms of pitching. There's a 5-game slate, which is the main slate, and then there's a 6-game slate that starts at 1, an all-day type of slate right there, including the showdown slate. But there's no big prize pools, and you might be able to get some decent cash games in there, but that's if you play cash in the MLB, which is a whole other story, which you probably shouldn't be doing for the most part. But yeah, if you're looking for better pitching options by playing that 6th game, you're going to be continuing to search. So yeah, I'm going to go on record and say this is by far the worst pitching slate of the year in terms of really bad pitchers, small sample size pitchers, and the best pitchers that you might have available to you, if that, are in difficult spots. So we'll break it all down. Appreciate it if you hit that like button right now. We're starting a new month off, starting a new week off. I always like that. 2 things resetting at once. Get a nice little start. Coffee's in me early morning. Let's get it going. Let's get it popping, gang. Crush it at work today to start it. Crush your real life job. Let's crush some DFS. Let's get into it. Hit that subscribe button if you can. I know there's going to be probably close to 1,000 people that see this video. Usually smaller slates, a lot of people like to get in. They're easier to comprehend. So I'm going to give you all the value I can. There'll also be an article up on Patreon. So if you want more of my content, really, I'll be tackling it from a rankings perspective of my favorite pitchers on the slate, my favorite hitters on the slate, with analysis, a short paragraph for each. So, or hitters in terms of stacking options, maybe some cheap one-offs. I put it within the article. So people that want to see more of my content, primarily people keep asking about hitting content. I can't get it out in a video form around 5 or 6 at night. I just have other obligations right now. I'll have video content at night around more so the NFL season. But right now, you can do that by going over to Patreon. It's a written article format. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you have not already. Follow me on Twitter at SalVetcherDFS. That's all the things out of the way. Let's break down this slate. I'm going to cover the 5-game slate. I don't care about the showdown slate. You get your Glenn Sparkmans versus your, I think it's like Clayton Richard's on that early slate. That's disgusting. I don't want to cover the 6-game slate because there's not big prize pools. So we'll just cover this 5-game slate. So 5 games, you should have 10 pitchers, right? But realistically, we could probably shorten this down to 7 pitchers, which makes it a lot easier to be picking from a player pool, right? And right off the bat, Tom Eshelman is projected, at least from CBS Sports, and I'm sure later in the day when you're watching this, this will be a solid fact or not. But CBS Sports projects him to be pitching and starting today for Baltimore. Look, he was acquired by the Phillies, I believe, like about a month ago in the minors. He has now been in the minor league system for Baltimore and Norfolk. And pretty much he got scratched from his start last night, Sunday, in the AAA. And they said that they're going to give Dylan Bundy an extra day's rest. So there's an open spot for a starter. He just got scratched from his start last night. It kind of adds up, and that's what CBS Sports was reporting. And I tried to do some analysis on him, and it doesn't matter because he's not in the Draftkings player pool. So you can't play him. You probably didn't want to play him. He was giving up 18 hits in 20 innings since he got acquired. Before that, in single A, he was doing okay. When he came up, he was losing some strikeout stuff and increasing his home run rate, which is never good. But either way, doesn't matter. We don't need to analyze him. So for the most part now, there's 9 starting pitchers on this slate. You're going to have an opener in Ryan Stanek, Tampa, against Baltimore on the other end. And then you're going to have a Ryan Yarbrough come in. So, yeah, we still have 8 starting pitchers with a long relief option in Ryan Yarbrough. We'll continue to kind of hit on a guy who's really pretty much another long reliever / opener, and we'll hit on Ryan Yarbrough coming out of the bullpen as well. But let's start it at the top. I'll be honest with you. I did sort of a brief early look profile on, I believe, each of the pitchers. I'll probably put that into the article with more advanced stats later in the day. There's not much to like here outside of like one pitcher, and then from there, I think you kind of just you filter through the rest of the cheap options, and there's not much. Like, I don't know what you do on this slate. And look, if you're somebody who grades out slates, and what that means is you look at the slate, you say, okay, I grade this slate as a D or an F. And if it's not above like a C, if it's not an A or a B slate in your mind, or sometimes a C is a toss-up, you don't play it. If you're somebody who's a degenerate, and you want to play this slate, I mean, I probably will, then yeah, you're going to go ahead and you're going to play the slate, and it's going to be terrible because all your pitching options are absolute dog shit, and there's a great chance that the combo of starting pitchers tonight is going to get 20 points. And yes, that means both of them get 10, and that's going to be in the winning lineup because it's going to come down to hitting. That's just the way it is today. I mean, you have a Mike Minor at $10,500. There's no way in hell I'd ever pay $10,500 for Mike Minor. What does he do for you? His 2.4 Sierra that people are raving about right now in the league, he's terrible. He's a 2.4 ERA. It's a 4.31 Sierra. He gives up an 8 walk percentage. He doesn't really have strikeouts, so 24% to each side. I mean, he's an average pitcher in this league, but he's getting touted as a top pitcher. And on a slate like this, realistically, he probably is a top pitcher because you're about to see the rest of these names and be like, well, who is that? Who is that? He's terrible. Who is that? He's terrible, right? Yeah, he gets the Angels today. I mean, you could probably pay up to be contrarian here at Minor. I imagine he doesn't garner much ownership on a slate where he's the most expensive pitcher in probably the most difficult matchup, or I would, you know what, it is the most difficult matchup, right? The Angels do have power. They're in a ballpark that's probably going to favor hitters, if anything, in Texas, but for the most part, it's most likely going to be a neutral environment. But the big thing is he's an average strikeout pitcher, and he's going to have a matchup today where at best he's going to face a lineup that strikes out 20% of the time, but most likely it's going to be their normal lineup that strikes out 17% of the time. So there's just no upside there. Yes, he works deep into the game, so maybe that's where the upside comes from. I am sure he's going to be a favorite today when we just look at who the Rangers side is facing in this game, but maybe not. So Minor has to be slightly interesting, but the matchup is just so brutal. He's a guy that on this slate there might not be more than two guys, if only two, that have 20-plus point upside. He's one of them because he could work deep into the games. So even if he's not striking out the Angels, if he keeps it 1 or 2 earned runs given up and he's going into the 6th, 7th inning of the game and he's pitching decently, well, he can get you points elsewhere where really no other pitchers on this slate can. So if this was a normal slate, there's no way I'd touch Minor in this matchup. But taking into account the context of this slate, I think you have to seriously consider him because there's not many other guys on the slate that realistically can get into the 7th inning tonight, realistically are going to limit the power from lefties, which we know that there's going to be lefty power in this lineup. I mean, just look at Ohtani batting third today, most likely. And he doesn't do terrible to righties. He doesn't give up home runs. He doesn't get hit hard, 35% hard hit percentage. It's the 3rd, 4th lowest on this slate. Overall, very scary matchup, but when you take into account what we're about to go through in terms of scary matchups for bad pitchers, a scary matchup for a good pitcher outweighs that. So Mike Minor is somebody who is interesting to me. He would be in an early player pool, and on a slate where there's realistically 8 starting pitchers and crossing out a Ryan Stanek opener, making Ryan Yarbrough a little bit more less than stellar, and we'll get there when we talk about it since he's a lefty. Yeah, you kind of have to pick the guy who is the most stable out of all of these, at least with a bigger sample size. So the next one's Logan Allen. He's probably the best pitcher on the slate today. He's probably going to garner the most ownership, right? He's 9,200, very small sample size, right? 2-game sample size here. It's not a lot to go off of, but now he gets a matchup with the Giants. It's not in San Francisco, but it's in San Diego, which is played just as hitter friendly, if not better. He's going in these 2 starts into the 6th, into the 7th, 6.5 starts. It's hard to really analyze a 2-start performance. The only thing I can say is that the way he's pitching right now is just not sustainable, right? You don't get a 17.6% ground ball rate. You don't get a 56. You can have a 56 or 17.6% fly ball rate. You can have a 56% ground ball rate, but the fly ball rate's going to come up, and he's getting hit hard so far through 2 games at 42%, 43% really at 42.9. His 1.38 Sierra, extremely lucky, is a 4.26 Sierra, 1.38 ERA, so he's getting extremely lucky, and a big part of that is because a lot of his fly balls, they're going to stabilize upwards, and a lot of his ground balls are just getting hit hard right now, so once he gives up more fly balls, that's when you'll start to see some more extra base hits and home runs coming. He has not showed any ability to strike batters out. The Giants, yeah, they'll strike out, but really not that often, not as much as you would expect. Now, they are the worst power team on the slate, and they're in the best ballpark on the slate, so he automatically becomes a very favorable option on a slate where you're about to see that there's nobody else that seems that favorable, at least in my opinion. So $9,200 Logan Allen is extremely scary. San Francisco has been worse against lefties in terms of strikeout rates. Allen has not shown much in terms of being able to strike batters out, but he has been shown an ability through 2 games to really limit any sort of damage. Like I said, 17.6% fly ball rate, no home runs. That's obviously going to regress, even if he's one of the best pitchers in the league at fly ball rates, not giving up fly balls. It's going to be still around 25%. You just never see numbers that low. So the matchup, the ballpark, it's going to be something that the ability through 2 games to work deep into the games on somewhat of a limited pitch count, right? He's only pitching 90 pitches a game. If this guy was given the reins to throw 100 pitches, he'd probably be averaging 7 innings per start right now. So 9,200, yes, interesting. Jose Suarez, no shot. Look, I don't know when you would ever want to pay $8,500 for Jose Suarez. And look, I get the narrative. Texas is terrible against lefties. This is a different type of lefty. This is not Brendan McKay. This is not Blake Snell, like the last two lefties that Texas had to face with, right? McKay, one of the best prospects in baseball, if not the best pitching prospect in baseball, coming up, pitching really well. Blake Snell, a guy who had been struggling, but still a high strikeout guy who, outside of the last 2 or 3 starts that he's had, has been pitching really well. Both of them went out and had really good performances against Texas. Now, I get it. Suarez is also a lefty, but we can't just develop this narrative that outside of the skill set, lefties are going to do good against Texas. They might do better than a bad righty, right? Because they have just better swing and miss stuff. Texas is swinging and missing against lefties way higher than their 25% average. They're swinging and missing like 2 percentage points higher. But Jose Suarez has shown us nothing to have confidence in, right? He pretty much has the highest CR on the slate, tied with an Adbert Alzolay. I think I got that right. 5.27, which is actually showing him getting unlucky. His CR is higher, ERA is higher. So 10% walk percentage, 2.57 home runs per 9. Look, this guy's terrible. He gets no ground balls, 27.4% ground ball rate. You're going to have guys in this lineup, a Joey Gallo, other guys in the middle of that order that are just going to, and just guys who are going to put the ball in play and really just have launch angles in terms of, instead of hitting a lot of ground balls, fly balls. And when you have a 55% fly ball percentage, even if you're not getting hit hard a bunch of the time, a lot of those are just going to end up finding their way out of the ballpark. So the fact that he gives up a 266 ISO to lefties, 280 ISO to righties, I don't believe the lines are out on this game yet. But I'm all about stacking Texas today, even against a lefty. The narrative of, oh, it's a lefty starting against Texas, only can get you so far if the lefty's not that good, right? This is not a spot that you want to pay $8,500 for a pitcher who's just a walking home run pretty much against a team that does have a lot of power. 194 ISO, right? It's the third highest on the slate, pretty much tied for a virtual tie with the second with the Cubs. So there's no shot I go to $8,500 Suarez today. Trevor Williams has been really good in terms of getting deep into the games. 5.93 innings pitched per 9 or per game. That is the third highest on the slate, only behind your Miners and your Logan Allens. Keep in mind, Logan Allen is a very small sample of 2 starts. So if we just take big slate data or big size data, it's just Mike Minor that he's behind. $8,100 today against the Cubs. I don't know where you get upside against Trevor Williams. I'd say the only thing that's nice is you're going to get at least 3 lefties in this lineup with a Jason Hayward, Anthony Rizzo, and a Kyle Schwarber, and he's been really good against lefties in terms of limiting power, a 137 ISO, but everything else for Trevor Williams has been bad aside from limiting the power and going into the 6th inning. And he's $8,100, so it's not like he's cheap. I guess the walk percentage has been good, but a 13.5% strikeout rate against lefties. Yeah, there's going to be 3 to 4 lefties in this lineup, and you can't strike them out. That's not great. A 23% strikeout rate against righties. That's a little bit better. It's better than 13%, but overall 18% strikeout rate, terrible. 203 ISO to righties. So your Chris Bryant's, your Javi Baez's, they're going to be in a better spot today. Wilson Contreras, those 3 big guys in the top 5 or 6 bats in the lineup are going to be in a really good spot in a ballpark today in Pittsburgh that is not going to be beneficial to pitching, right? It's not going to be good at all. The way it is pitched this year, it is tied, which is weird. You don't usually see it tied, but tied for Cincinnati on this slate for the most hitter-friendly ballpark. So Trevor Williams becomes sort of this meh-ishy play. Like, I very much prefer Trevor Williams to a Jose Suarez today, especially for a $400 savings. But they're in identical matchups in terms of how much power the opposite opposing team has, and now you're putting it in a hitter-friendly ballpark against a team that can't get strikeouts. He doesn't give up nearly as much power or free passes with only a 3.6% walk percentage compared to Suarez's 10. But overall, there's not much upside here outside of the fact that he might go deep into this game. So right now, no interest in Trevor Williams. Tyler Mlb, 7,500 against Milwaukee. I'm much more interested in stacking, as of right now, the highest run total team in Milwaukee. There's only 3 games that have, out of the 5, a run total. I imagine Texas's might go up there, but no interest in getting to Tyler Mlb today because there's going to be at least 4 lefties in this lineup. Look, he strikes out only 18% of lefties. He gives up a 281 power rating to lefties, so he has a lot of trouble against lefties. Now he has the complete opposite against righties, 29.2% walk percentage. And he gives up 107 ISO to righty. So that's pretty good. But the fact that you're going to have a lot of lefties, especially in the middle of the order, and at least 4 for this team, right? You're going to have Christian Yelich, Mike Moustakas batting 3 and 4. You're going to have an Eric Thames potentially batting 5th, if not 6th. And then you're going to have a Ben Gamel, the other outfielder, somewhere in the mix there as well, batting probably 7th. So you're going to have 4 lefties in the top 7 bats, and you are absolutely terrible against them. So your 30% strikeout rate absolutely drops, falls off the face of the earth. You'll still get to face a pitcher today in terms of an Adrian Hauser going up against you for probably just an inning of, if you even get to 1 at-bat against him. So, yeah, I don't feel that great against Trevor Williams today or Tyler Mlb today. And also taking into account the pitcher, if Adrian Hauser is usually only going 2 innings, you're probably going to have a pinch hitter for him, so it's not as easy of a strikeout as you would get from the 9-hole. So Tyler Mlb, a lot of people are probably going to gravitate towards him because he does have this 29.2% strikeout rate, limiting righty damage. But he's overall facing, or he's pitching in a ballpark that's not going to be beneficial. And the way that this Milwaukee lineup, if indeed there's those 4 lefties today, I'd much rather stack the Milwaukee lineup, target the lefties. Really, you can 3-stack them with a Yelich. Mike Moustakas probably be expensive. And then a Tames, you can go with the whole 5. I don't really care. I just know that Mlb most likely at this price point garners ownership, but I probably don't get there. Jeff Samardzija, been absolutely terrible, but now you get him in a very pitcher-friendly ballpark with a team that strikes out the most on the rate on the slate in San Diego. I mean, the guy's been absolutely brutal. The last month of the season, last 2 months, he's had like 1 beneficial start at Baltimore, and that's a team that struggles against righties, but as of late has been crushing righties. He's a big underdog. I mean, the other side of this slate is the Logan Allen, who is a big favorite against the San Francisco team, so it makes sense. There's a lot of worry here because Samardzija does give up power to both sides of the plate, especially lefties. He fails to strike guys out, gives up 41% hard hit percentage, which is the 3rd highest on the slate, pretty much 2nd highest on the slate if you wipe off the opener. So I have slight interest. He would be sort of this 3rd player in my player pool on the cheap end. Mike Minor, Logan Allen, and then Jeff Samardzija. And that is showing you how bad this slate is. So slight interest just because of the strikeout upside for him. He doesn't get strikeouts, but just his opponent will create more strikeouts. And the fact that he does give up power to lefties is very scary. There will be 3 to 4 lefties in this San Diego lineup who have a lot of power now, especially since Manny Machado has found his power stroke with 20 home runs. Seemed like the guy was just falling off the face of the earth the first month. Now he's in a home run surge, but the ballpark will help. So Samardzija garners some interest for me. Ryan Yarbrough, I'd rather stack Baltimore. Like, he's an attractive option at 6,500. Could come in, pitch 4 innings. He doesn't give up walks. Doesn't give up too much home runs, but he struggles against lefties, and this Baltimore team is very good against lefties. They have a very specific and specialized team for lefties, right? You'll get Alberto, mostly batting first today, most likely batting first. You'll still get a Mancini in that lineup, Nunez, Severino. All these guys hit better against lefties, and that's exactly what Yarbrough is. So the fact that Stanek is coming in and opening is nice because he probably gets to face the first 3-4 batters of the game. And he's a righty, which Baltimore struggles against. But then you bring in Yarbrough for 3 innings or 4 innings, and I just don't see the upside in Yarbrough, who averages about 3.5 innings per outing, and you now get a team that is a huge platoon advantage against lefties, and Yarbrough struggles against lefties. So I don't want to go there at 6,500. I think a lot of people will be attracted to it. The long relief option, who's a little bit cheaper, has had success in the last 2 or 3 starts. He can definitely go out there and get you 15 fantasy points, which is all you need at his price point, but I'd rather stack the Baltimore team against him. Adbert Alzolay, he gets Pittsburgh today, and look, this is how bad this slate is, but he would be my 4th interest in terms of pitching options today, and then I'd probably give another nod to Trevor Williams as my 5th favorite. And like I said, we're picking from like literally 8 options, so I'm kind of ranking the whole slate. This is early on. My article will be up later today on Patreon. You can get it down below, link down below. You can head over there. It's July 1st, so you get a new month of Patreon today. And yeah, that would be my 4th option because there's nothing else. There's nothing else on the slate. I don't want to go to a Ryan Yarbrough. I already said I have interest in Samardzija a little bit, and that's interest like biting my tongue, but where else do I go on the cheap end? And Tyler Mahle, I already voiced my concerns with him. So you don't have much other options when Ryan Stanek's an opener, and we'll just address Adrian Hauser right now. The guy is averaging 2 innings per start, if that. So you really can't get Adrian Hauser. They don't label him as a pitcher opener, but that's really what he is. He's a pitcher opener that'll go 2 innings, and then there's really no idea who's coming in for him, at least as of right now. So you don't get a long relief option against Cincinnati, which actually might be a beneficial spot today. But as of right now, Cincinnati has the 2nd highest total on the slate. Adrian Hauser is going to be out there for 2 innings. That doesn't benefit anybody at 5,800. If he was free, I might consider him, right? If he was $1,000, I might consider him. Hope he gets me 6 fantasy points in those 2 innings, but no shot at 5,800. 6,400 though, Alzolay. Look, he's terrible in his limited starts, I guess you can say. A 5.3 Sierra is the worst on the slate, right there with Suarez. He's giving up a 17.7 walk percentage, and this is how you know that he's only had 2 starts this year, I believe, when you get a walk percentage that high. Now look, he's gone 4 innings flat and like 4 2/3 innings, so nothing great there at all by any means in terms of depth into the game. He's shown the ability to strike batters out, but I have a little bit of an early profile on him. Let's get this notes up, right? I'm doing notes at 4:30 in the morning. So he's been decent, but not great. He's gotten 4 strikeouts in 5 strikeouts, so averaging 4.5 strikeouts through these 2 starts. As much as we can analyze a small sample size, you shouldn't try and analyze these small sample sizes too much, but there's some things that you can take away. The fact that he's only given up 1 home run per game is probably something that we're not going to continue to see. And I mean, it's going to get worse for him, right? He has a 5.3 Sierra for a reason. He's giving up 1 home run in each of his first 2 starts, but he's gotten 10 fly balls to 6 ground balls. That's really bad. So that's the spot that starts to worry me. 10 fly balls to only 6 ground balls through 2 starts. Usually that's something that is going to regress maybe a little bit, but it's just showing that he's pitching one to contact. And when he pitches to contact, it's going in the air instead of on the ground, and it's getting hit somewhat hard. So not a spot that I really want to go to. 2 games, I don't want to analyze his strikeout rate. It's way too small of a sample size. It's really way too small to analyze batted ball data, but at least we have a little bit more to go off of in terms of having like 10 fly balls to a 6 ground ball rate. Obviously, that's something that can just be small sample and it regresses the other way. But the fact that he's getting extremely lucky based on his SIERA to ERA shows me that that is something that might actually stabilize or continue to stay the same. He's 6,400. He's the only in my player pool because the next 2 guys on here are only going to pitch an inning or 2, right? And Adrian Houser and Ryan Stanek. We already talked about Yarbrough in terms of why I don't have interest in him. I'd rather stack Baltimore against him. And then after that, you're getting into the 8K range. So if you want a cheap option, Albert Eloze is right now my 4th option, not in any sort of ranking, but the 4th guy in. So I like Mike Minor. I like Logan Allen. I don't like Mike Minor. I'm biting my tongue by saying that. But if you want a stable pitcher who can probably get you 5 or more innings today, there might only be 4 of them on this slate. Mike Minor is definitely one of them, even in a difficult matchup. So I like Logan Allen. He's probably the best overall spot today in terms of his matchup, the ballpark, his price point, for what seems like a pretty good upside. No shot on Suarez. Trevor Williams is like on the fence for me just because he goes deep into the games, but overall there's not a lot of upside there in terms of what can he do for you in strikeouts. If the Cubs get 3 runs off of this guy, I find it hard to believe he gets to 15 fantasy points unless he picks up the win somehow from there because he just doesn't have the strikeout upside, right? Realistically, against this Cubs teams today, Trevor Williams has probably a 5 upside ceiling in terms of strikeouts. You give 3 runs, a couple of hits, and a walk-up, well, now you're struggling, right? It's really hard to kind of capitalize off of your mistakes or even just the smallest of mistakes. Mlb, I don't want against Milwaukee. There's going to be too many lefties in the lineup, which he has very much struggles against. And then, yeah, it just leaves me with Minor, Logan, Alze, who I would never play on a huge slate, but there's not much left here, and Jeff Samardzija. So that's it. I'll have my article out later today. I might add some pitchers after I do a little bit of deeper dive. There's no WNBA today, so I'll be spending all of my time researching this 5 and 6 game slate that I have for DFS today. And then, yeah, I'll also have my hitting stacks ranked with some analysis. If you watch the whole video, I'll just kind of throw out some early interest in terms of stacking, which I kind of already did. Baltimore, definitely like them against a Ryan Yarbrough today. They have a lot of success against lefties. I'd get to the lefties in that lineup as much as I could. Milwaukee, San Diego, Cincinnati, and Texas are all the stacks that I have early interest at and just looking at in terms of matchups and what their lineup potentially can stack up against today. So that's where I'm at. I'll have more detail broken down in the article today. My name's Sal. Follow me on Twitter at SalVetri You can follow me there for updates. I appreciate it. Patreon's down below for the article. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. If you have not already and you watched the whole video, take 5 seconds, please, before you end it. Hit the subscribe button, notification bell. Thank you so much. Best of luck today. Peace out, gang.